Why do Black entrepreneurs get stuck? And why do a lot of Black entrepreneurs stay stuck? I've been studying entrepreneurism for 29 plus years. I've interviewed dozens of successful Black millionaires who've built their businesses from the ground up. I've worked with and interviewed and had conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners who built their businesses or their practices, six figures, multiple six figures. And I've just had general interaction with hundreds, literally thousands of budding and seasoned entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of things that get us mired in the mud, that get us stuck. But there are a few things that are really glaring when it comes to us achieving the success that we're desirous of, and a lot of us are blind to it because of the zeal and the gusto that we enter into entrepreneurship. We run, it's like running into this big old mud pit, and then all of a sudden you're running in full speed, but then all of a sudden you get in there, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in this mud. So there's these things that sometimes we're oblivious to that cause us to get stuck and then to remain stuck. So I want to keep this video short, so I'm not going to be able to go into a bunch of them. So I'll try to unpack 2 to 3 of them that I think, well, that I know. It's been my experience that I run into often in my coaching and consulting with other entrepreneurs. So first, let me say this: you're not stuck because you lack talent. Or have some form of gift, right? We all have talents and gifts. And sometimes entrepreneurs, your mind can play tricks on you when you get stuck. You be like, I'm not talented enough. Self-doubt creeps in. So let's kind of remove that. That's not the reason why you're stuck. You're not stuck because you lack drive and ambition, because once you make that declaration that you're going to become an entrepreneur, uh, and you start moving forward on that journey, you could easily go back to a job. This is a decision that you make. So you have drive and ambition, or else you just go back to the job. And don't get me wrong, a lot of people do that, but it's not because they totally lack drive and ambition. It's because they don't know how to overcome that hurdle. And that's why we have to hopefully start sharing this knowledge so that people can really deal with the real issues that stop us from achieving the levels of success as entrepreneurs and business owners that we're desirous of. Um, Here's what I've discovered. You're stuck, and I've been stuck because we try to do too damn much. I mean, we're literally trying to do too much without any focus, any clarity. We're all over the place. We got too many things on our mind, especially once you start getting a taste of success. That's when all of the ideas start flooding the brain. And if you're studying, you start seeing all of these opportunities. Then you start hearing, you need multiple streams of income, and you shouldn't have, there's nobody should be one business Elon Musk had, so you start hearing all of these things. And then we, as, ambitious, driven, talented, gifted entrepreneurs say, yeah, why not me? Why shouldn't I be engaging in all of this activity? And then we find ourselves stuck and our wheels are spinning, or we're burning out and we don't know why. It's because you're trying to do too damn much. I was in a conversation recently with someone, and they mentioned, and it was a beautiful analogy. They talked about this thing of like having too many things on your mind is like having too many tabs open in your computer, right? Depending upon the power of your computer and the operating system. If you got 20, 30 tabs open, your computer is going to run slow. And again, if you don't have a good operating system, or if there's some viruses or anything that's in the environment, you're going to get stuck. The computer is going to freeze and stuck. And so it's the same thing with our minds, our brains. We have all of these tabs open of all of these things that we want to do, and it's just too damn much, and it's killing our progress. We've just been conditioned, especially in today's environment. We got to be everywhere. We got to be doing all of this. I got to be on all of the social media. I got to do A, B, C, D. So we're doing all of these things. And then at the end of the day, these are not the things that move the needle for us. So your superpower or the antidote to having too many things on your mind is developing the ability to focus and concentrate. Right? You don't need 10 businesses, not from the start. Please, you only need 3 businesses from the start. One business, one idea, one focus, and properly execute it. You'll do well. And you'll know. That's the beautiful part. The thing that I've learned uh, is that you'll know when it's time to start other streams of income and businesses. Um, Organically, you'll feel it. You'll know. You'll be able to look at the numbers, right? And see what you're doing. And the thing that you're doing will be so easy, so effortless, spinning off all of this excess capital that you'll know that it's time to do something else. But until then, you need to focus and concentrate on the one idea, the one business, cultivating the right skills. As I mentioned earlier, we all got talent, skills, and gifts, and we may not have honed in on the right ones yet, though, right? So that's another hurdle. I'll talk about, not necessarily a hurdle, but that's one of the reasons why we stay stuck, and that's one of the things that can get us unstuck. So I'll come back to that in a moment. Another reason why we get stuck is unrealistic expectations. Um, we want success to happen tomorrow, like we ordering something off of Amazon, right? Same day service, right? We're not giving ourselves enough time to become successful, right? There was a book by, I believe I know it's Dan Sullivan. I'm trying to remember the co-author. I believe is it Darren Hardy? No, it's not Darren Hardy. Oh, I'll come back. Maybe I'll post below. But Dan, if you look up Dan Sullivan, you'll see it. The book is called "The Gap in the Game," and they have this beautiful analogy in there about chasing perfectionism or the ideal, right? So with a lot of our expectations, we conjure up in our minds what success looks like, what it should feel like, and then sometimes we're looking and we see other people successful, and we're like, oh, that's it. And so we have this, we want the perfect website, the perfect logo, 6-figure months, all of this type of stuff out of the gate, right? And even in the early stages of our entrepreneurial endeavors. And what ends up happening is that it's the improper way to measure. And if we're measuring it by the ideal, that's when we get stuck. And so in the book, they have a beautiful analogy of the horizon, right? Um, all of us wake up and we see the horizon, or if you're going in direction, if you've ever taken a cruise, you look out, you see the horizon, and the horizon is beautiful and it's perfect. And we know that we want to go in that direction. However, no matter how hard you try, you will never catch up to the horizon, right? It's constantly moving. It's an evolving future. But many of us are so focused on catching the horizon or capturing that perfect picture that we don't realize that we're making progress. And so the best way, this book does a beautiful job of showing us that the best way to measure your success is by progress. You look back where you've been, and then you look at where you are and you say, wow, I've come so far. And now you've achieved something. And then you just keep going, right? So you keep going towards the horizon because you've reached certain benchmarks or certain goals. But if you never look back, if you achieve something and you still don't feel like it's the perfect picture or it's the perfect ending, it always feels like something is missing. I've seen people who've achieved some great feats, made tremendous amounts of money, and then all of a sudden they feel like something is missing. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I haven't done anything yet. And you've done a lot. Some of you just starting a business is a lot, but we can fall into chasing the horizon, chasing perfection, having these unrealistic expectations of what business is, the mess, the journey, the challenge, the obstacles, the ups, the downs. When I interviewed all of these successful Black millionaires, very rarely was there one. And in fact, I would just say across the board, everybody has a story of hardship, of difficulty, of trial, some homelessness, some multiple bankruptcies, foreclosures, near-death experiences, and then all of a sudden you see, the success years later, but they've had to overcome all of these obstacles that are a part of life. They get started, they get in motion, they start tinkering with their business, they make the adjustments, they take the lumps, they take the bruises, and then they keep going. When you have unrealistic expectations, when you get hit in the mouth that first time, boom, I've seen it deflate people because, again, this ain't how it's supposed to be, brother B. I read in this book, or I read in this magazine or entrepreneur magazine or Fast Company or something that this is to be the outcome. I should be six-figure months and all of these different things. I have some down to six-figure weeks, six-figure days. And the people who are doing those numbers are so small in comparison to the large amount of people who are just doing business and having a tremendous amount of success. So I won't beat a dead horse with that, but that's the second thing, right? We talked about the first thing, not having the ability to focus and concentrate, and having too many things on our mind, even drifting into scatterbrain, which is a dangerous area. I'll talk about that in another video, but this having scatterbrain where you just all over the place is definitely not a great way to build your business. But then having unrealistic expectations. And both of those kind of dovetail into the last one that I want to touch on with you. And I found, especially in today's climate, this one is really dangerous, because with everything that you see online, all of the images that we see on television, online, people, everything just looks perfect. And so we have this thing where we start comparing ourselves to others. So this keeps you stuck because now you're looking around and you're comparing yourself to others and everybody looks great. As I just touched on, all of the millionaires that I've interviewed, and thank God I got a chance to interview them because you can start comparing yourself and thinking, and then they'll tell you, no, I'll never forget Dr. Dennis Kimbro's words to me when he was writing his first book. And even after that, it wasn't like he was, bathing in money, but he's like, brother, this was 7 years of hell and high water. Those are his exact words to me. There have been many divorces and many marriages and relationships strained when people are building their businesses, but we're comparing ourselves to somebody else's highlight reel or their finish state or their front stage, if you will, right? If you go to a concert, when you see Beyonce on the stage, that's the front stage. There's a lot of backstage stuff that's back there that don't look too good. And what happens is we're comparing our backstage to somebody else's front stage. Our our raw footage, our raw data to somebody else's highlight reel, right? So we see all of the footage of the mistakes and the flaws that we have, and we're comparing that to somebody else's highlight reel. And they have flaws, they have mistakes, they have challenges, they have trials, they have difficulties, they have financial conundrums that they have to unravel themselves from. But if you're constantly comparing, you don't see their struggle. You don't see their sleepless nights, right? You don't see the health issues that some people deal with. You just see the shine. And so you're comparing yourself to that. And it's a terrible way to do that. And what happens is that comparison, it robs us of, first, peace of mind. You really can't do any of this if you don't begin to understand that you have to begin to draw peace, uh, of mind into your operating space when you're trying to build a business, because there's going to be so many tumultuous moments that if you're not able to find peace, you won't make it. So That's what's happening. That's why we stay stuck. We're comparing these things and ourselves to other people, and it robs us of our peace. It robs us of our confidence, and it robs us of that momentum. Remember when I talked earlier about running into that mud thing? That's the momentum we have, but then we get stuck because now all of a sudden we're in the middle of what we're doing and we start looking around and we're comparing ourselves to other people. Now all of a sudden we start losing momentum. We can't get through certain phases. There are going to be some things like on an uphill trajectory that you can't really get going because you haven't built up the momentum to get up the hill. And so now with lack of momentum, you hit a hurdle, you hit a hill, and all of a sudden you can only go so far. And then what happens? You coast back down to the bottom and you start feeling all stuck again. So this is why a few of the reasons why Black entrepreneurs get stuck. Not because they're not capable, not because we don't have gifts, not because we don't have talents. We just have these impossible expectations. We continuously compare ourselves to other people, and we have too many things on our mind. So then, Brother B, what's the solution? So I'm gonna wrap it up. There's a lot of things that we can say. So make sure you, if you like this, subscribe. Tell me what else you want to know about this particular subject below if you can. But like it, subscribe it so that you can get notified. Hit the bell so that you can get notified when we start sharing more things that you can do that we can do, right? This is I'm going through this with you. I am not the guru on the mountain. I'm your brother in the trenches with you that has devoted his life to the study of entrepreneurism and how it impacts Black people and how we can incline to this. I think it's the perfect exercise of self-improvement that can help us to achieve success. So just, I'm in here with you, grinding, doing all of the things necessary, facing these obstacles as well. And so let me know what you want to know, how we can connect. At the bottom, there'll be some other resources somewhere around the video. But how can we get through some of these things, Brother B? First thing, going back to the gifts, one of the things that keep us stuck is that we haven't discovered our unique gifts, our unique talents, our unique skills, our unique abilities that come easy to us, right? All of us have a God-given talent, skill, gift that we can build our universe around. So most of us, we get into entrepreneurship is by default, right? We see an opportunity and we just head to it. We're not even thinking or conscious of the fact that, is this a gift? Is this a strength of mine? No, there's just some money to be made over there. And we head that direction. And sometimes we get going and we can make some money. But again, sometimes at some point, that's when we get stuck because now just that raw energy, that raw passion can run out. But your gift, God-given gift, talent, your God-given abilities, they don't run out. They're always there, and we have to find them. And so as soon as you can, you want to find your unique gifts, your unique talents, your unique strengths, your unique abilities, and start building around that. Because when you're functioning in those areas, and I'm going to give you a tip as to how you can find it, but let me just say this: when you're functioning in those areas, you get energy. It energizes you, it stimulates you, it motivates you, it fascinates you, it keeps you learning, growing, and developing in that area. You want to know more and more about it. You want to exercise it more and more. You want to be an example of it. And that's where you start attracting the people to your gift. And here's the problem: it comes easy to you. When I was getting ready to say, I want to point out something. Most of our unique abilities and gifts and talents, they're easy to us, but we overlook them. We don't see the value in them because they come so easy to us. And I'm saying to you, building businesses and your entrepreneurial journey moving forward is going to be highly reliant upon you discovering your unique talent, skills, and gifts. If you want a company or business or your lifestyle to be fun, I was getting ready to say, yeah, easy to a degree. When I say easy, I'm not talking like easy like Sunday morning. I'm talking about effortlessly pursuing and doing what it is that you're great at, that you're gifted at. The challenge is you probably can't imagine that people would pay you for that you love to do. And so you want to go back into your mind and think about the things, 2 to 3 different activities that you love to do. I do an exercise where I tell people to, what is it that you wanted to do when you were 6 years old? If you go back to your 6-year-old self, what is it that you wanted to do before you got into the school system, right? What they say, you can't do that. You can't do this. You had to start learning, see, spot, run, and all of that good stuff. When you were 4 and 5, you were creative. You had things going on. There were things that you wanted to do. There were things that just came easy to you and you were inclined to it. That's where your gift is. And most of us, that's where we left it. And so the school system and others, adults who've had bad experiences and things that happen in their life, they begin to tell you what you can't do, what you shouldn't do. And then they start giving you a direction to go into. And it has nothing to do with your God-given talent, skills, and gifts. So start reflecting on your youth and what you were good at and what you wanted to do. And it could be very nuanced, because most times when we look, we just look at the things that are obviously apparent, right? I could draw, or I could sing, or I could dance, I could run fast, but there's just certain other things, these nuanced gifts that are not just, you can't just put in that category, right? You have emotional connections to certain things, and all of these are gifts that we have, but we just don't know how to, for the lack of a better term, monetize them. And nobody's ever said that. So I'm telling you now, we're in an era where the technology has made it easy to take those gifts, those nuances, whether it be in leadership or training or writing, speaking, right? So there's just so many. I can just start listing a whole bunch. So cooking, sewing, I mean, all of these different gifts that people have that they didn't know that they could build a life around. Um, People are beginning to get it. But again, for most of us as Black entrepreneurs, when we get stuck, this is one of the reasons why. So what's another way that you can cure that then, Brother B, since you're talking about that? Ask people around you, what do you, matter of fact, blame it on me. Say I was watching this video, this knucklehead, Brother Bedford, started talking about, I got these unique talent, skills, and gifts, but, I don't know what that is. And just ask them, what do you see me as? What do you rely on me for? If you were to tell me what you think I'm gifted at, I'm talking about to your family and friends, ask around 10 to 15 of them that you trust their opinions, and tell them to be honest with you, because some will tell you. They'd be like, yeah, you make money in that and you've been doing this, but girl, I know that you can do this, but you got to give them the opportunity to tell you, because most people don't want to tell you that you stink at something. You're doing something else. They're like, oh, I wouldn't do that if I was you. But ask people, what do you see me as? What would you rely on me for? And you'll be surprised at the answers you get. And don't get mad, just take it all in, write them down. Like I say, get 10 to 15. And you may have to even look in the weeds, because they'll tell you a few things, but now you start looking at the commonalities of what each of them tells. Like, wow, they told me that I'm a great listener and a great communicator. I got to strengthen communication, right? How can I use that? So that's kind of a way that you work through that. And again, that's an exercise that you have to do. There's some other exercises, again, that we'll come back at another time, because I'm looking at the clock, and this video is already getting a little bit too long, and I didn't want it to be this long. But as I've mentioned to you all before, the brother can go. Brother don't mind talking. But so let's just recap real quick. And let's just start right there. One of the ways for Black entrepreneurs, probably, and I would even say the primary way, there are others, but let's just pause it right here so that I don't keep going into other areas and leaving incomplete thoughts with you. One of the key ways to overcome being stuck as a Black entrepreneur is to begin to discover your unique talent, skills, gifts, abilities, your strengths, and your passions, and begin to work towards cultivating them and building a life in career and business around that. So that even when you do hit those obstacles, those challenges, or what was the term I used earlier, a mud patch or whatever it is, even when you hit that, you can overcome that obstacle and hurdle because you love what you're doing. You feel great about what you're doing. And it helps you to get unstuck from those areas of scatterbrain, having too many things to do on your mind, not being able to focus. Because when you get your thing, you'll focus and concentrate on your thing. You want to begin to master your thing, right? So you'll be able to focus and concentrate. You'll have realistic expectations about what it is that you're doing. And when you're focusing on your thing, your unique talent, skills, and gifts, you don't compare yourself to others because you're hoping that they're working in their unique talent, skills, and gifts. And here's the thing, and I'll close out on this that you'll find is that when you really focus on your unique talent, skills, and gifts, you stop comparing. But the other thing that also stops is you stop thinking in competition. You start looking for people who are in their uniqueness to complement your uniqueness, because you're not going to be able to be extreme. The levels of success that you want to get to, you can't do that in a vacuum by yourself. You're going to need other people, and you're going to need other stars. You're going to need other greatness around you. So you want people functioning in their greatness, their areas of genius, while you're focusing in your greatness and your areas of genius, your uniqueness, and they complement each other. And now everyone is successful. So I know this one kind of went down a whole down the road with this one, and I'd love to unpack this some more, but I don't want to, sometimes I don't want to be too much in these videos. So this is your brother Bedford. If you like this content, again, like, subscribe, and share. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Take care, everybody.